We got the yin and yang over here, Brian Ford and Alec Martin of I Am Roofing. Gents, what's going on?
How's it going, man?
What up, what up, what up? Man, hey, I've known you guys since the beginning of your journey, starting I Am Roofing. And I couldn't be more proud to watch you guys' success. Now, when it's talking about you guys become business partners, what's the story there that you guys are like, hey, let's partner up. Let's start a roofing company.
That could get long, but we could share it up a little bit.
Yeah. Short and sweet, but I want to hear the details of how this thing got started.
Well, Nick, and I'll let Brian finish up the tail end of this when he got involved. But you know how most people say you just fall into roofing? And in all honesty, if you're not involved in high quality roofing, maybe we could call it that we'll talk about today, you've got a stereotypical image of roofing. Mm-hmm. Everybody does, man. We're like the black sheep. So when people think of roofing, like what I used to think of I was a general contractor, I was a builder. And so my roofers back then were the laborers I hired to do my roofs. Mm-hmm. I didn't hire back then. I did because I was doing a lot of insurance work. So I was under a budget, and I wouldn't say I hired a top tier roofing company to come in and do my re-roofs, or new roofs or anything like that. So I had this image in my mind, and personally what happened to me is I hit another rock bottom. I've hit a few in my life, to be honest with you, but I hit a real rock bottom when it comes to life and just not knowing, just wondering, the purpose again. And so I was in building and everything failed for me again. And stuff just stopped working. And I went through a divorce, bankruptcy, basically homeless, although I never went without a roof over my head, so to speak. Really tough time, Brian remembers. I went through a real tough time, man. And custody battle, all kind of crazy stuff. My name slandered, you name it, it went down. And prior to that, man, I was riding down the road. I had lost interest for building. And prior to everything crashing, I was riding down the road and having this internal conversation and prayer. And as I was driving, what am I going to do now? And this little whisper came across my plate, and it was comical to me at the time. I heard start a roofing company, and I was like, what? I literally laughed out loud in my truck by myself, started laughing about it because I was thinking, roofer, I'm the guy that hires me. I'm not the roofer. And I didn't do it. I went back into general contractor, rebuilding, built the company up real quick. And then this is when everything crashed.
Wow.
Built it up, was doing well, and then everything just went away. Yep. And when that happened, my phone started ringing. My business for rebuilds and builds went away. My phone started ringing for roofs. The craziest thing, man. And right when the lockdown happened from COVID, I started getting phone calls about roofs. And at the same time, I was going through a bankruptcy and a custody battle and a terrible divorce and driving back and forth 3 hours so I could stay at my parents' house and keep my kids for 2 weeks. And I'd come back up to Central Alabama and I would work roofs for 2 weeks and sleep in my office, get a hotel room. I slept in my truck a few times and just whatever I had to do to make it happen, man. I was really hustling.
Oh, wow. And
because I had children I had to take care of too.
It wasn't just about.
And the attorneys are telling me I can't own my own business at this point because I'm going through bankruptcy. And I had people paying me in cash and I wasn't asking them for cash. And it was the craziest thing. And the way it all played out, ended up buying an RV from Brian's dad. He was selling an RV and he gave me a sweet deal on an RV. How much was it, Brian? Like $3,000?
$3,200, I think.
$3,200, man. I paid cash money for it. Put a little bit of money in it. I parked it down on this little creek called Otaga Creek down here. And I started going through this process of realizing and accepting maybe I am supposed to just be a roofer. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's nothing wrong with that. And maybe I can have a positive effect on people roofing. Because ultimately, Brian and I have a heart really to affect people in a positive way inside our company and outside our company. We got really good hearts, man. And so at the same time this was going on, I knew Brian had been working. He had made it to the top in his industry, I'd say. When you say that, Brian?
Yeah.
He was in a hell of a position.
Corporate, right?
But at the same time, he was having to spend a lot of time away from home. And he's married to my sister. And so I knew the things that they were having to deal with because of the field he was in and the type of work he did. And the thing about Brian had all these great ideas about entrepreneurship. And here's something I know about people through my own self-realizations and just really studying life. Most people have a desire in their heart for things, a passion. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, we don't know what that is. And most of the time, it takes somebody on the outside of us to point us to what we're already doing. Mm-hmm. You're like, man, you're so passionate about teaching and coaching. And you're like, wow, I've actually been doing that the whole time. Maybe I'm supposed to teach and coach. And maybe I can do that in anything I'm doing. And so I knew Brian wanted to get off the road. I knew Brian had a real passion for entrepreneurship, and a hurricane hits down south, and I'm riding down there, and I've been praying, man, God, just give me vision again, to strategy, vision to do this, because I'd gotten to the point, because everything crashed around me, Nick, and I'd gotten to the point where I realized once again, maybe I need some help and maybe I need some guidance. Working right here. Again. And so I was back in that mode, and all of a sudden, man, it just starts unfolding for me. I've always had great business vision. One of my weaknesses has been in the infrastructure and actually building the team to have the vision. And then, but as far as building the team, I was missing some pieces. Brian's one of those pieces. So I called Brian. I was like, man, how about this, and this? And just invited him to start roofing. And Brian, you can take over from there. That's basically where he came in at.
I'll say some things. I'm going to tee up Brian here. You're 100% right. Roofing finds you. It's the craziest thing. It's just like you're lost. You're at an all-time low. And for some reason, the industry decides to lift you up. And I agree with what you said. When you're burnt out, you're at all-time low, you had bankruptcy, divorce, you start to lose that vision. But as soon as that starts to return, powerful things can happen. So all of a sudden you get a call, Brian. Ring, we got Alec on the other end. I need you, buddy. What did that conversation go like, and what was the start of I Am?
The town I was living in at the time, that hurricane hit it pretty good. When I grew up in that town, a lot of people knew me. And so when I called Alec, I was like, look, man, you need to get down here and I remember riding in the truck with him. We were going around looking at all roofs and trees. I mean, this is right days after it happened. And I remember we pulled up my yard and I said, well, man, what do you think? And he goes, I don't know if I can do this, get down here, continually do it. And I said, and I'd roofed for a company when I was 14 years old, like a summer job. So it wasn't like I was unfamiliar. Plus the business that I was in, we'd done a lot of commercial, industrial roofing. So yeah, when we pulled up in my yard, he was like, man, so a few days went by, he called me, he said, hey man, what about if we go down there and try to land some jobs and then you run them for me and then I'll send the crew down there. I was like, oh, hell yeah, I can do that. We're on lockdown the company I was working for had me grounded. I couldn't travel. So it just, all those things started bolting up together, right? I'll start hitting up the mayor and people that I know, so they know I'm involved in a roofing business. We hadn't partnered up at that point. So we land, man, I don't know, Alec, what we do, like, we landed like 4 roofs like that.
Yeah, it took off real fast.
Yeah, one of them was the city council, one was on the city council or the historic district manager, and then one of them was running on the newspaper in Atmore. So and then it just spun off. It just started rolling. So, and we just pretty much, I think it was February of 2021, we re-signed our organization agreement, and we become partners at that point.
Wow.
And then March of that year, I walked away from a 32-year career.
Dude, that's crazy, man. So where's your head at there, Brian, then? You're getting momentum, right? All of a sudden you get involved, you get these 4 jobs quick, they're key people, right? You get, I don't know if this was meant to happen, but you got put in your sweet spot of production, right? Which is where you excel, right? Maybe that was by coincidence, maybe not. But what's your mindset like that? So you go from a 32-year career, it's safe, it's true to you, and all of a sudden now you're running production during a hurricane.
Scary. Here's the deal. Who in their right mind would take off with a guy that just come out of bankruptcy, had all these issues and all, unless you believe in what he's doing? It never was a second thought with me. My wife was, Alec's sister was just like, she saw stuff that I didn't see. I was, are we going to do this? Are we really going to do this? And she was like all for it. She's like, hell, you ain't never going to know if you could do it unless you do it.
That's huge.
She was perfectly fine walking away. She hated it.
Can you imagine though? Because I had already jumped off the ledge, but you're at this ledge and you've got this. How many years, Brian, were you in the industry?
32.
32-year career he had built up and established himself in. Standing at that ledge and jumping off takes some pretty big kahunas, man.
Oh yeah. So Brian, was Alec able to cast his vision? Because obviously he was in a darker place or getting out of one, right? Was he able to cast that vision, or was it maybe your wife helping you see it at that time? Or what was it that was like, man, I see this guy. He's a visionary. I see it. I believe it.
I've been knowing Alec for probably almost 20 years now. And I've watched him highs and lows, and I've been there through that whole thing. And I think that, and I humbly say this, I'm not saying this to boast, because I don't boast about things, but I think that he was missing an intricate part of what I could bring to the table. So the companies that I left, I was highly in technology. We used spreadsheets and Teams and interactive type software. And when we first started, we were literally working out of Alec. I remember him telling me, man, you got to go get this folder box and you get all your folders. And we were handwriting documents. And I went, well, no, we got to do something. We got to do something that looks more professional, because at the time I didn't know this, but the roofing contractors still do it to this day. They still give you a little piece of paper. Hey, your roof is this, and we're doing it for this. And there you go. You sign it. That's our contract. And it just blew me away. So then that's when we start actively seeking out software that can help us run this business. Because I think in the back of my mind, I was really hoping that this thing would turn into a multi-million-dollar operation.
Which you guys have done.
Yeah,
Go.
Yeah. I mean, you and I've talked about this a lot, Nick. We're blessed to be where we're at, and it didn't come from a lot of lumps on our head. You know, I mean, we've smacked our head against the wall more than one time, but I think we're smart enough to realize we're only as good as the people that we ask for help to.
Mhm.
And that's not just the people that we put roofs on for, people like you guys and Randy Brothers and Brian Ward down here with Quality Roofing. It's just guys in that community that are not greedy enough to say, no, you go figure it out for yourself.
Mm-hmm. And you know,
Yeah,
that,
we've got some great relationships.
I think that's
Yeah.
one of the differentiators for you guys, in all honesty, is you guys aren't afraid to ask for help. You guys aren't afraid to invest in certain things, people, whatever it might, technology, whatever it is that's going to help you move up. And I think that's been so huge for you guys. Why have you guys been so resourceful in that way? Is there a certain reason where you guys have been so open-minded to try new things, hiring consultants, to do different things like that?
I think that it comes from, Alec, you can step in on this if you'd like. I think it comes from us being humble enough to know that we don't know everything. I mean,
Go ahead. Brian and I have both went through really low periods of our life to understand that we don't know everything. And there's an awareness that comes with that, hey, it's weird. You can see something and then never change.
Mm-hmm.
You can keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again and never, ever say, hey, man, we need to change something up here.
Mm-hmm.
And then realize that I don't really have the know-how or the tools. There may be information out there, but if we want to lessen that learning curve, why not don't try to recreate the wheel, go get somebody that created the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And to show you that process. And so we've seen that. Here's something else we were able to see. And Brian brought this technology to the table. I was very resistant in all of it. I just resisted it. And now we've fully embraced. I've really become a fanatic with a lot of it. But it probably gets on everybody's nerves. But I'm like, I just keep, and now I'm in it. But we were able to see that the region of America that we're in is really slow to change. Now, instead of us seeing that as a con or a negative thing, we've been able to see it as something that can differentiate us and that we can actually gain it from. So we can separate ourselves apart because we've got military that comes in this area and down there. So we got people that use technology, but the region we're in, if you take Alabama, we're even slow when it comes to styles of clothes and stuff, haircuts. You carry stuff out west, it doesn't get to us for 10 years or so. It's really slow to change, which is a good thing. It's a positive.
Yeah.
But if we can take that, we can use technology to stay ahead of the game and to also present to our customers in a way that shows the transparency, that where it really highlights the areas that we specialize in. It's a positive for us. We've used it as a marketing strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to see that now, that vision, that awareness, I think maybe was a gift. I can't tell you that we made it. We just have this special awareness for certain things. And it's been working so far. I think one of the things Brian hit on there, though, is staying in this position where I don't know everything. We're staying open to learn and to reach out to guys. We do know this. If we surround ourselves with the right people and we create the right relationships, there's something special that happens there. We just get entangled with the way they do things. It rubs off on you. The old saying, birds of a feather flock together, but it's true, man.
It is. Though.
However that works, it works.
100%. In the time, it sucks when you get humbled, right? Those low moments. But man, I think they're there to teach you something, right? You definitely get smarter. You definitely get more strategic, more wise, everything like that. And at the end of the day, it keeps you humble, right? And I think when you're humble enough, like you guys said, you ask for help, right? You don't have to pay the dumb tax because someone already knows the answer. So use them as a resource. And I think you guys have been fantastic at that. Now, I wanted to mention, go deeper on hey, you guys are out in Alabama and you said, hey, we're behind. And so it's an opportunity for us to impress our customers compared to our competition? Give them a different experience, look different, whatever it might be. How would you can compare that, right, to your competition, and then areas where you stand out, whether it is online, whether it is customer experience? How would you differentiate yourselves, and what are some things that you think help you win because of that competitive advantage?
I'll tell you, for us, it was getting pretty much uniformed from our branding. We send out a sales guy. They're in clothes. Alex wearing his shirt. We're that brand awareness that some of these guys just don't. And I see it a lot where I'm down south. You never know what roofing company's out there because there's no branding. And we want to be that. When we met Randy, we went out there, saw his operation, was like, wow, this is what we want to be. That upper tier level. And that kind of leads you to that's what kind of, if I'm buying something from someone and they're straight laced like that, what do you think the product I'm going to purchase is going to be like?
Mm-hmm. Straight laced.
So that's just as a consumer, that's what I look at.
100%. And hey, I just want to give you guys a shout out of your trucks too. Man, the black trucks with the camo.
Yeah. Fortunate enough to have my brother-in-law, his brother, that's phenomenal at this brand. He's branded us like this, and he's just got an eye for structured all of that. You know, I mean, we're just fortunate. Like Alec said, we've molded ourselves around a bunch of people, man, that you got to glean from it.
Hey, I want to go into it's family run, veteran owned. Alec, thank you for your service, 100%. What about working with family then? There's a lot of different family parts and components. What's that like? Are you guys in love every single day? Is there ever any fights?
No.
For that?
No. We had our challenges at first. I come from a different background. Alex owned the business. There was and then a lot of that frustration came from us just really not knowing what we were doing. We were just going through the motions. Mm-hmm. And man, that don't do nothing but aggravate both parties involved. But at the end of the day, we are brothers and we love each other. And at the end of the day, you got to be, hey man, I got to be grown up enough to apologize. I think that's what pushed us through that.
But you, Alec, what do you think on that side of things?
Yeah, it's been special, man, because I think we both see, including my brother, Rob, we see it as it's difficult when you have to bring news to a family member and say, look, man, we need this and this. And right now we're just not getting it that way. Mm-hmm. But it's also been, for me, it's been just a great place for personal growth and seeing things like when those consultants were here, I learned that my leadership style was something I didn't even want. I was like, man, dang, that's hard. It was a very hard pill to swallow for them to come in here and say, well, your leadership style is dictatorship, man. And I'm like, I didn't. What do you mean? But anyway, some people, but to be in a position where you can take that and say, okay, what can I do to really be intentional and be aware of this? And what can we do to change this? What can I put into place to change that? Because I was doing some things and presenting information to Brian or other people that was in a way that was very offensive. I didn't know I was doing it because I've been military background. This is the way. There's no other way.
So they groomed you in the military in terms of your leadership style, would you say, or not really?
Probably so. What do you say, Ron? Just it's black and white, and I'm just, but at the same time, we're aware of that. And so we've grown a lot as business owners, tremendously. Oh, yeah. We've grown a lot, as a person, I've grown a lot. Brian has too. The way we handle things, the way we can receive information from people and not be offended by it. And it's been that way for us. And at the end of the day, we don't stay mad about things. It does not last long. We're able to let it go and see, hey, the goal here is this company, this entity that we've created here that is it's a business, but it's alive, and there's people in it that depend on it, and ultimately it has to come first, or else all this other stuff goes away. Mm-hmm. Being able to see that, I think, is difficult for some people. I think we've been able to see that and see, okay, what's best for this?
And I think you guys nailed it with the personal growth stuff, because that's really what it is. When you're going on this journey, starting your own business, growing your own business, attracting talent and developing talent, right? The whole thing is around personal growth, right? The more you focus on growing yourself, all of a sudden, all that impact goes directly into the business and the people who are inside it. Now, what was it like when you guys started to build out a team, right? When you guys started to build out a team, like you said, I love that term, it's coming alive, right? Because it really is. That's the way I always look at a business, when all of a sudden it's moving and grooving and there's customers and there's people that are working for you, right? All of a sudden this thing is literally alive. What was it like there, right? Building out that team, right? Building out that culture. I know you guys are big on culture, giving back to the community, profit sharing, right? With your team. What was it like, and why did you decide to do things like that?
I could start at the beginning, Brian, and why don't you finish it off with the profit sharing and all that? And that's our heart, really. When Brian and I came together, man, we didn't want to be like everyone that we see, like the corporate world. We're not greedy people at all. The money will come. I think if we do certain things, that's a byproduct. It's not our sole focus. But we got to a place, we took off like lightning fast. And you were part of that on the beginning. And then all of a sudden, the hurricane work dried up and some things we went up, and then we came back down, and we built this team for all this hurricane work. And then all that hurricane work went away, and we were like, we had to downsize because we were saying, man, the shit's going to sink if we don't change something here. And so we changed, and then at the same time, it tainted us a little bit, that pain of hiring too fast. And so then we were really jaded, and we didn't want to hire at all. It
does taint you a little bit, though. It's weird when something bad happens. Yeah.
It did, and we realized that. We knew it was going on. We were like, man, and we knew it. But we got to a point where Brian and I were, once again, just working ourselves to death and making pretty good money, not where we wanted to be, ultimately not where we saw our vision, and not the mission was not being accomplished. And we got to this place where we were like, we're either going to do this or we're not. Which is it going to be? And we've had that quite a few times in this business where we were able to say, hey, we're either going to do this or this goes away and we just hang it up. Because this is not ultimately, because it'll kill us. It'll kill you. It'll run you ragged.
Oh, yeah.
And so we decided that we were like, okay. And we had this turning point. I think I went to an OC training thing. And we just had this turning point where we said, okay, we're gonna build a team. I also realized, man, I haven't, and Brian hasn't, we haven't been good at attracting and building the right team. So we need somebody that's good at building a team or recruiting people, good with people. And that guy came along at the same time. It was crazy. The office opened up. We got out of the house again and got in an office, and the team started to come together. But the profit sharing, that's always been part of my heart. I think America used to operate in that way, and with companies and things, and they got out of that. Brian, you can share on that.
The company that I started off my career with, they were a employee-owned business, so they were profit sharing involved in that down to the last laborer. So that's always been a really good, when that company went away, the corporation that bought that company out, done away with all that. And that was just kind of, I've worked for large companies, 13, 20 billion, and you get lost in the weeds, right? You do a lot of work and don't get recognition. Recognition can come in several different modes, right? You can either have those guys that like to have a pat on the back and a sticker, or you got those guys that want a $20,000 bonus. So that's always been a thing for us. And when we hired the consultants to come in here and really, hey, look, what are we doing wrong? That was a thing that they had. They had a good program, and it was basically a profit sharing. What is it called, Alec?
Pool.
Yeah. So we set that up, and then it holds me and Alec accountable to really know our numbers, because that's what it's based off of. How profitable are we based off of last year? And every quarter we take those profits above our certain threshold and we split it up for the down to the last person.
I love that, man. And you know your numbers, like you said, you know your numbers. We were talking about them yesterday. You had exact numbers off the top of your head.
So that to me is like just icing on the cake. And yeah, people, you know how it is. People get used to things and they want, but it's based off of performance, of how well we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And something that me and him really want to do. We talked about this before we first started. I'd love to cut up. That's why we celebrate those commission checks like we do. We put those big checks and they sign them out, man. What that does is that sees that you're for real. So what does that do? People start coming in here to the office wanting a job.
Yeah, they do. They really do. These guys really pay. I work for other companies that don't pay. They tell you they're going to pay you, and then they never pay you like what they told you they were going to pay you. There's all these little stipulations in there, and now we got to split it. Now this is halvesies, whatever it is, and not to throw anybody under the bus, but they come here for that reason. Yeah, these guys really do what they say they're going to do.
I love that.
It's fun to work here. We got a boys too, man. We can present ideas, and they'll take them and table them. And if that makes sense, we put it in play.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. Even with this getting paid, right, or getting paid on time, like you were saying, that's such a big deal. I have contractors. They give me referrals, and I give a bonus for it. I make sure I pay as soon as I can, because I know a lot of those guys are sales guys or been in sales roles, and they've been screwed on getting their money paid. And I want to show, hey, I pay my money, basically, right? It makes a big impact. And then you're flipping the script kind of on branding, right? When you're doing that stuff, you're branding, but you're not branding to attract customers. You're doing it to attract talent, right? Which I don't think enough people think about when they think about branding. Become an attractive place to work. Because if you attract the best talent, then it's game over.
That's a good point, Nick. And I don't think a lot of people think about that. And I hear it from my subcontractors too. I've got subcontractors that work for me that are owed thousands of dollars from a company. I don't want to be that company.
Mm-mm.
No.
I would rather me take something out of my check. That's one thing I could say. We've never missed a payroll. Bad as the ebb and flow was with this business, we never missed a payroll.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Say that.
That's huge. That's huge, guys. You guys have done a great job, man. I'm super proud of you guys. So I wanted to ask you guys too about the turn back moments, right? You guys talked about there was some key moments in the business, some key chapters where it's, are we either throwing the towel or we fix this? Let's be honest here. In those turn back moments, did you guys think you were going to turn back? And what was it that kind of got you through those turn back moments?
For me, the company that I used to work for had already called me 4 times. Yeah, it was starting to look really gray for me, and Alec knows this. And what's so funny about this whole thing is when I walked out of this office in here, I was going back to Daffy. There was a guy sitting in here that was coming in here to talk to Alec. I didn't know who he was. I just walked out, got my truck, and when I left, I got probably 40 minutes down the road. Alec calls me. He said, dude, do you know who that was? I was like, I have no idea. That was a consult. He was trying to set up an appointment for this consulting firm to come in here. And the way they pitched it, it was, oh, we want to do an evaluation of your company. Y'all could be marketable to sell, blah, blah, blah. We had no idea that was going to be our turning point. Wouldn't you agree, Alec?
Yeah. Yeah. When I was going through all the the financial difficulties and just life difficulties, a lot of that stuff seemed to be out of my control. It was like I was going through, so I was like, man, you go through this thing where you go, why is this happening to me? And then it's almost like a process, and then you come to it and you start to take responsibility for all of it. You say, I was the maker of all this. I'm not going to blame anybody at all, but there was a key turning point right at the beginning for me. And what I used to do reached out to me. I was even having dreams about these guys. It was the strangest thing. He actually called me and said, man, this is the weirdest thing, but I've been thinking about you a lot. And I think you need to come in here and see what we got going on. And so I came in there and they basically offered me a really good job running an entire division. They were basically in about 8 different states now, and they want me to run some stuff. And I didn't do it though. Down deep, something was saying, you've already been there, Alec. You can go back there, but you've already been there. You know exactly what that is. And so I said, you know what? I can't go back. And so down deep, there came a point, and even in this company, that when we decided to build the team, there came a point for me where I said, this is it for me. This is it. all the chips went in. And then again, we had those periods. And now does the thought come in? I could go back to that. The thought does creep in. And then I shut it down again and I go, I'm all in. I'm all in. There's something special here. And it's the weirdest things happen. We go up now, we're at a point again where we had lost like how many people? 3 or 4 people at one time.
Yeah. There's a bunch,
players, man. Boom, just gone. We had to let go of one of them. 2 or 3 of them decided they were going to move on and go try some other stuff. And so when that happens, no matter what, I mean, you're not a huge company, man, it affects you big time.
Key pieces, yeah.
And we're like, man, Phil, our sales manager, says, man, I think we need to go up to Nashville and pick this guy's brain that's had a lot of success in sales and managing a sales team. And right in the middle of all this, we say, boom, Brian gets us this like super nice hotel room, all points. And because sometimes you just need to feel what it feels like.
100%, dude. Step into your vision, man. Yeah.
And we go up there and I had more peace. And I was like, man, we're in the right place. We're doing the right thing. And as we go up there, I'm standing in line and I get a phone call. I never answer these calls. I never answer these telemarketing calls. I hit block and whatever you hit there to get rid of them, junk or whatever. But I answered it. And the guy starts talking to me about the very things that I was questioning. And I'm big about having these internal conversations. And I was having I can't explain it, but I was having these conversations about things I didn't know how to do. And all of a sudden this guy calls me and he starts telling me about all these things that they do. And it's the very things that I was wanting to learn about and know about in the business, running the business by the numbers. And that's the guy that shows up that day. Right at the right time.
See, it's all hitting. Hold on real quick before you keep going. So everything hits the fan. You guys don't know what you're going to do. You guys take off to Nashville, get a super nice hotel, and you're going to meet with this guy to learn some stuff.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. I just want to make sure. I love it.
Yeah. Man, took him to a nice steak restaurant. We didn't know. And because that's the reason we went out and sought the relationship with Randy too.
Mm-hmm.
because we both said, if we want to be successful in this business, we need to get out there and see what it looks like, feel it, see it, participate in it, entangle ourselves with other people that are already doing it, and something will come out of that. It always does, man. I know a little bit about the way life and the universe works, a little bit, and I know if I surround myself with the right people, then something positive comes out of it. It always does, man.
Always does.
There's lots of books and all that stuff, but and then we got to another point, a jumping off point, where we said, we looked at it, and because they wanted a lot of money to come in here and teach us these things. But we saw the return on, we were able to see the return on that investment. A lot of people, I'm sure they present to a lot of people. We said, look, once again, we said, it's either this or it's nothing, man.
Yep.
It's either all in or not. And we just said, you know what? We got to do this. And we did it and immediately got a return. Just the same month they were leaving, we started seeing a return on our investment.
There, that's incredible, man. And I always think about those turn back moments. And it's funny, in my mind, even when I'm thinking about turning around, I know deep down there's no way I'm going to turn around, because I'll hate myself forever. You know what I mean? Like, I will just be so disappointed in myself if I turn back around. So if anybody out there is thinking about turning around, don't do it. All right, just push through. It's going to suck. It's going to hurt. You're going to feel some pain, but you can be better on the other side of it. And you'd be proud of yourself. If you turn back, I promise you, you're gonna feel worse about yourself, right? You're gonna be able to build so much confidence when you go through those moments. It's huge. And then also too, you mentioned Randy. Randy, shouts out there. We all appreciate your help, everything you've done. He's very upset this morning because I picked up his free agent in our fantasy football league. So Randy, I'm very sorry about that. You seemed upset. We'll figure out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hey, Alec, you're an author too. I wanted to at least give you a spotlight there. Tell me about the book, right? It's fantastic, by the way. What made you write it? And tell me a little bit about it.
Man, I have been writing for years. I'm a strong believer in having a morning routine.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever it may be, getting your head right before you get out there and get going. And the reason I'm a strong believer in that is because it works for me. I've not done it, and I've done it. And the days I do it, so much clearer. And I'm just, the success during the day, I'm so much more productive. It's just got all these positive effects. So I've gotten to a point in my life where I do it every day, man. I literally, I don't think I skip any days. And part of that is I just sit in silence, and I just allow ideas to come to me. And a lot of times, so for me, it usually transpires as a writing. I'll end up with some type of writing, with something. I get inspired. That's my inspiration. I've been doing that for years, and the book is called The Place Where Peace Begins. And it is really, there's 22 chapters. At the end of every chapter, there's a practical discipline or practice. You can call it a meditation that work. They're all things that work for me. And as you go throughout life and business, especially business owners, we deal with a lot of stressors. There's a lot of things that come at us in different directions. There's ups and downs. Once you're aware of that, it's okay, what can I do with this? What can I do right here? Because ultimately I'm in turmoil, and I'm not feeling restful or peaceful. And so that book is based off of peace always beginning right here, no matter what's going on. And I can always experience peace no matter what's going on once I'm aware of it. And it gives lots of little tools on how you can do that. Very practical, I think, very simple.
It's a great book, man. You could be a preacher. It's really well written. And for any business owners out there too, when Alec is talking about that peace. You got to think when all the fires are going, right? And life is crazy. The business is chaotic, right? If you're able to get into that mode of just peace and tranquility and handle those challenges, it's going to be a lot easier to handle those challenges if you can handle yourself. You're going to make better decisions during those big moments when big time players have to make big time plays.
Yeah. And man, I don't operate in it perfectly. We have periods where I get just pissed off about things. But once I come to, whoa, Alec, you're out of it again. Then I know, okay, let me just come right back into it. Because I'm not good to anybody when I'm like that. I'm just not. I need to go get some quiet time somewhere.
100%.
You make a decision, any of that. So that's where it comes from.
But that's how a lot of leaders are running around though, right? And they feel like there's nothing they can do about it. But man, life is going so fast and we all have so much freaking screen time and things trying to grab our attention and everything's a fire drill. You need to be able to slow it down. You got to set the tone, right? Because if you don't set the pace, the world's going to set the pace, man. And I'll tell you one thing, it's real hard to keep up with that world's pace. So slow it down, right? Slow it down.
Yeah, set the tone. You're right, man. Mm-hmm. That's something you do and can't have control over. Mm-hmm. Your own inner environment, set that tone and don't allow it to move you. Hey, can I say something real quick, Nick, about you?
Do it. Yeah, of course.
You're one of those, just like the consultants were for us. You're one of those we're at a key point in our business. And the decision for us to go with your services was just like the consultants. I have a hard time explaining it. It was one of those points where we saw, okay, and it happened. So I hate to call it a coincidence, but just reconnecting. Hey, Nick, what are you doing now? And then saying, Dadgo, this is right where we're at. And we actually need these services right now. And then Brian and I said, what's happened so many times with us now, we said, this is a no-brainer, man. We need to get him in here. And there's going to be a huge return on this investment. Mm-hmm. And so it was the same decision, man. And here's what I'll say this about you that me and him actually discussed, me and Brian. We know you're a man of your word. We know you get after it. And you do what you say you're going to do. And that's what we really respect about you. You've always been that way. Mm-hmm. So I just commend you for it. That was the decision. We didn't even need to talk about it. It was like, yep, the guy.
And that means a lot, man. Hey, that means a lot. I really appreciate the opportunity to work with both you guys. Super proud of everything that you guys have accomplished, everything that you guys are doing. And when I get to work with guys like you, it's what makes you work so hard, right? Because you want to make sure that you're executing and you want to be able to be part of those results to continue that journey, that growth, everything like that. So it's been an absolute pleasure, guys. Like I said, super proud of both you guys.
Thanks, man.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Same. So guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. But when we bring this thing to a close, I put you guys both on the spot for a golden nugget. All right. So it could be something about business. It could be something about personal. It could be a quote, a book. It could be something we talked about in the episode, but a little golden nugget, right? Something to leave the viewers with. It could be words of wisdom, whatever it might be. So I'm going to pick who's going to go first. I'm going to put Brian on the spot. I'm going to put Brian on the spot.
Yeah. I had something in mind just a few minutes ago, and I got so wrapped up in my thoughts. I was like, I can't even remember what I was actually going to say. I think that Alec has said this, and it's a quote from David Goggins, but nobody likes to hear it, but you got to embrace the suck. And Goggins talks about it when he's in his book. He was terrified of water. What kind of person goes in there to be a Navy SEAL if you're terrified of water? Someone is trying to confront their fears. Embracing the suck, and this is something that I struggle with it. We all struggle on day to day. Nobody's perfect, right? we're just running through the dark trying to find the door, right? I would say to anybody out there, first, listen to David Goggins' audio book, and then second, just embrace the suck. Just don't suck.
They're going on the other side there.
And all the best things in life are on the other side of fear, right?
Yeah. Oh, this is what I was going to say. I can't remember who come up with this, but I was in a network marketing back years ago, and they were trying to get you to embrace the whole entrepreneur, getting out there and walking away from your job and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, that's terrifying. He said, it's terrifying. He said, what's more terrifying? He said that you don't want to lose the security, because that's what we get when we're working a 9 to 5. We know as long as that company's staying above water, we're going to get a paycheck. Mm-hmm. He said, that's security, right? And I said, yeah, it's security. He said, you know who else has security? Prisoners.
That's why a lot of guys like to go to prison.
Yeah.
He said, so if you don't want to be a prisoner, you go create your own. You go create your own security.
Go get it.
Is it easy? No, it's not easy. But I'll leave it at that.
Let's go, baby. Time to eat. All right, Alec, close her down.
I agree with what Ron just said too. And I believe in that 100% because it works. For me though, if I could just, we're in business, but I 100% believe that if I make it, so I've always done this in everything I've done actually, but if I make it about the people and not so much about the business is a byproduct. So the money, the success, all that comes if I put the people first. And I used to believe it was all about the customers. That's true. But now I believe the most important people in my business right now are our employees. Mm-hmm. And so where I see where we can have a multi-generational effect within and also without, on the outside with the customers. So if we do it on the inside, if I make business, I have a higher call. I have more of a purpose, because I found a long time ago that I get bored with business if I just make it about numbers and money.
So true. Same.
I get burnout and bored, but if I make it about the people, and now every person, every appointment, there's a higher purpose there. I can affect that person in a positive way, and it has a ripple effect. It goes out from there, and that's on the inside and on the outside. So that's what I believe. I really try to teach that with people too. Just you got to have a higher reason. There's got to be a bigger reason than just a paycheck. That'll come.
Yeah, I love it, man. Because it's like, hey, you take care of your employees, you take care of your team, they're going to take care of the rest. They're going to take care of the customers, right? And so it's such a trickle-down effect, especially as you expand and start to grow that team. And if you don't have a why, you need to be thinking about your why are you in business? Why do you wake up and go through hell on the days that it just absolutely sucks? Why? It's got to be something bigger than you. If it's all about you and the money and stuff like that, I guarantee that will fade. You will not be strong enough to get through some of the things that you're going to have to get through. You're going to have some purpose there.
Yeah. Now you're getting into legacy, man. You know, what's your legacy going to be?
True.
What is that going to be? Because it'll be with the people closest to you, your family. It'll be those customers that met you. It'll be the employees that were here. It'll be all of them. I had a guy call me the other day from probably 15 years ago, and I actually let him live with me for a little while, and I ended up having to kick him out because he kept diving off into the things I told him he couldn't do if he was going to be at my house. But he called me back and he thanked me and said he had finally gotten his life turned around. 15 years later, man, you never know.
You never know, man. And think about this too, as we close it out. if you reach your full potential, what is your wife's life going to look like in comparison if you don't? Your sons, your community, everybody involved in your business. What do those two worlds look like if you not reaching your potential and you reach your full potential? That's probably going to give you some answers to figure out what that why is, right? So, Jets, I really appreciate you guys joining me. We got Alec and Brian. I'm roofing out in Alabama. Let's keep ripping, boys. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Nick. It was great.
Thank you. We appreciate it, guys.